Hey everyone, it's Bo and Karina, and welcome to this week's episode of The Reconstructionists.
Yes, happy to be here with everyone. Karina, what are we talking about today? Hit me with it.
This week, our topic is actually given to us by one of our commenters on YouTube, Alicia, and then with a bunch of numbers and letters afterwards. Thank you so much for your suggestion. She wrote as first topics. Watchtower did such a number on our self-esteem, especially for us women. I'd love to see a discussion about how to love yourself and think you have a worth in this world.
Especially for us women.
Especially for all us women. Bo and I talked about it, and we really thought this was an amazing idea. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I think we could even just start out kind of where she did with her comment is trying to think of some ways that the Watchtower Society, the Jehovah's Witnesses did do a number on our self-esteem. Like, what ways do you think they might have damaged having a healthy self-esteem? Any thoughts?
Well, I have several thoughts. I think for me, and especially as a woman, my value very much felt tied to having a man. And because there was only so much that you could do as a single woman in the organization, right? I mean, I'm sure soon they're going to start appointing women as ministerial servants. But that was not an option to even aspire to. The most you could do was pioneer, maybe commute to Bethel, depending on where you lived. And so that really made you feel not complete as a person. If I wanted to do more, I had to come in this package. So I'm not saying that I only got married for, that reason, but that was definitely a factor.
Upward mobility is again tied to the patriarchy, like having a male head as you were supposed to jump on his coattails and move up in the organization. So I could definitely see that. I think also another way for men and women is just this idea that Watchtower pushes. I think it's obviously good to be humble and to be modest. Like, those are good qualities, but I think they sell a version of it that's not necessarily good for our self-esteem. I think you become so afraid to take credit for any of your own accomplishments. Let's say you gave a good talk or a good part, and all praise must go to Jehovah, and people are trying to tell you good job, and only because Jehovah helped me, and you never want to take any credit for anything. And that's not really in of itself humility. To me, it's kind of like almost a fake humility. I thought I said those things and I thought I was being humble, but I realized later on I'm like, but I think that also for me, when I left and people would compliment me on something in some way, I almost felt like I had to figure out a way to like offload the compliment still. Like, I can't accept praise or a compliment from somebody. And I still deal with this, by the way, and I think that part of that is just, ingrained in us, and it does affect your view of your own self-worth if you can never feel good about an accomplishment or take at least some credit for something good that you've done in your life.
I absolutely resonate with that. And that was something that I actually had several conversations with one of my therapists about, not the one that I currently have, but the one before. Both are wonderful, but I was with the one before for longer. So we had like a really good relationship. And we were talking about that, about how it was so difficult for me to accept help, how it's so difficult for me to accept compliments, anything that's being given to me. It's very difficult because you're supposed to give, right? And like you said, you're not supposed to really accept the compliments on your own hard work because Jehovah's the only one who gave me the power to do the hard work behind it. Or, no, it wasn't. So something that she had me start doing, and it was, oh my God, so uncomfortable and so difficult still to this day, is whenever someone gives me a compliment, to say, thank you, I appreciate that. Or to say, thank you, because I worked really hard on it. Like, for example, I love making my yoga playlists for class. Like, it's probably my favorite part of teaching because it's my way of connecting emotion. Like, even if I'm not the one saying the words to you, like I'm still speaking to you through these songs. So I put a lot into the order of the songs, which songs I choose, the general vibe of it all. Like, I love it. And I also just love music. So when someone compliments my playlist, initially my thought is to go, no, but I have to stop myself and say, thank you. I worked really hard on it.
Yeah.
So it's so uncomfortable to do, but it feels good.
Mm-hmm. I agreed.
Try
Here's
that.
here's something that's super cringy. Oh my God. Confession time. Are you ready?
I'm
So
so ready.
so when I was at Bethel, I was that in itself, right? It's super cringy. Okay. So I was like, oh, here comes a spicy story. It's not that good, believe me.
Wait,
I
Pillowgate?
there was plenty of that, believe me. I mean, I fucked the memory foam pillow so hard I gave it Alzheimer's, but we won't talk about that. I'm not supposed to say that on the air, I don't think, but come on, people, hang with me here. Hang with me.
Uh,
We're off the
Come
rails.
on.
We're off the rails already. So
Bring us back. Bring us back.
I was trying to be all organized with my assignments and duties and responsibilities, whatever, in the congregation, and I bought these 3-ring binders, and they had like the clear plastic sheet that you can put a piece of paper in.
Mhm.
And I, for the cover of my 3-ring binder, I put the scripture on it that says, "I'm a good for nothing slave. What I've done is what I've ought to have done." I think that's what it says, something like that, right? And that's what I
Yep.
put on the
Yep.
binder because I just thought, like, I don't deserve like any of this. I'm unworthy of anything, and this is all I should be doing, and I shouldn't accept any praise or anything like that. And it's insane now to think like that was the
Mhm.
mindset, at that time. And again, just that kind of that, like, I'm a
Though
worm,
that
I'm a good for nothing slave, like, meh, just
I'm
dirt.
not even kidding you. That like phrase of
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing is what I ought to have done is something that I would say back to when someone compliments me. Like up until pretty recently, that's like, and it still slips sometimes because
Mm-hmm.
it's active work to stop and acknowledge and thank. I'm constantly, when someone compliments me, my initial reaction is to say what I'm doing is what I ought to have done. Like very
Yeah.
much just dismiss the so we're so quick to dismiss the good things that we
Mm-hmm.
do as individuals.
Another thing I thought of too, I don't want to like take over,
N-
please cut me off,
No,
but I
go
thought
ahead.
of
Go ahead.
if you did go through a judicial committee, and I think this is, I'm going to say, as a man, sorry ladies, especially applicable for women, I think, but
Mhm,
man or woman, if you went through judicial committee, good chance that had a bad effect on your self-worth and self-esteem. I went through judicial committee. I've talked about it elsewhere. I'm not even going into details, but I just remember feeling like kind of at the lowest point of my life going in there, and
mhm,
then feeling like pushed down even lower and like kicked while I was down. Was I did not have a good experience. I don't know if anyone ever has in a judicial committee, like, but I
mhm,
think if you went through that, and obviously if it's maybe it's something like a sexual sin, they would say, or something like
mhm.
that, and if you're I don't want to like talk for women, but many women, ex Jehovah's Witnesses, have mentioned just how traumatizing.
Yeah,
And
I've seen as in like examples online and heard of experiences where it is. I'm very grateful for the fact that I never had to go through a judicial committee. Not that I didn't deserve to, because like if we I don't know what witness couple actually does, by the way, like have a chaste courtship. No, we absolutely lied about that. But oh my God.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Oh,
pretty chase.
yeah, no, I mean, we didn't actually have sex, but like we should have definitely not had a kingdom hall wedding, basically. Anyway, um, I even though I definitely should have had to been in judicial committees, um, I never experienced that. I'm very appreciative of that because uh I can't imagine having to say and say again and say again, especially in a situation where you are genuinely the victim, but
Mm-hmm.
because of their twisted like thought processes and all, the like and we'll get into all that, but to then like it's
Yeah.
making me sick right now just to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. And I want to say, it makes me sick to think that I ever participated in that process. And there's one thing I could change
Mm.
about my time as a witness. That would have been one thing I would have definitely want to delete from the history and my
Yeah.
life experience. And um, I I guess the only comforting thing for me was that I didn't personally uh, do, I guess, the really I'm gonna call them just awful questions. Um,
Okay.
but I was
Now, can
present
I
in
ask,
committees where
how does
where
that work? Like, how are you, like, are you chosen to ask the really graphic questions, or does someone just
no,
like
there's just
creepily
one that
volunteer?
it's just, yeah, there's not even really a real plan going into it, but there's typically at least one elder who's far too intrusive. At least one, I would say, probably in every committee. And so that one was, I wasn't that one, but I was in committees where um yeah, where questions were asked, or even I as the elder, I can't imagine the other person, but I as the elder was uncomfortable and felt like this we shouldn't be doing this, like this isn't right.
Oof.
So
I feel like
so
the something that like might give you comfort is yeah, wish that you had never participated in that, but
mhm,
you're you made that your reality,
yeah,
not having to ever do that again. So
yeah,
kudos to you.
true. Yeah. Believe me, if I could go back and just kick myself right in the nutsack like young elder Bo,
Mhm.
I
Oh, I'm
would
sure.
many times
I'm
over.
sure.
So um
Same.
yeah, so I think, like, again, I know for me that was something that really just, I was really stuck in a really low place, not just during that process, but for a long time afterwards with, you know, subsequent
Mhm.
shepherding calls, and everything was just like, oof.
Right. I
Then
would
they
imagine
take,
at that point it feels like just opening the wound and
yeah,
like pouring salt every single time. Like, what are you
right. And
doing?
then, yeah, you can't comment, you can't, like, people look at you different if something was announced. In my case, it was private reproof, but I was no longer an elder or a pioneer, so they announced that,
Mhm.
and everyone's like,
Mhm.
hmm. So everyone's kind of looking at
Mhm.
you funny or treating you with kids gloves, and it's,
Mhm. Especially if
yeah.
your mate, your partner still does hold on to their privileges, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
I can imagine.
Definitely.
Um I feel like too the fact that it's so outwardly appearancy is something that really affects the self-esteem part too. Like, and I'm not just saying that, this, that they don't talk about things and everything is very like Stepfordy. I'm talking about even like genuine physical appearance, the need
Mm.
to always feel like so put together. Like, I remember there was one circuit overseer who would kind of like reprimandish me a bit for like
Hmm.
wearing flats, for not looking dressed up enough.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I,
And
I'm trying to
he
guess which
even
one it was. Sorry, I won't. We don't have to. We
I'm
don't
not
have to.
gonna like dox him.
Oh,
I'll tell you
anybody.
later. I'll tell you later. And the thing is, like, this particular CEO and his wife, like, we were actually very close to. So I don't know if it's because he felt so comfortable, because
Mm-hmm.
they were genuinely like an aunt and uncle to my sister and I. Um, but whatever. We butted heads so much with the
Mm-hmm.
flats, and I was like, I don't understand. Like, your shoes are flat. I have to wear heels out in service, like for hours at a time. What? And he was like, yeah, look in all the publications. You will never see a sister wearing flats. And I remember one day I was at Bethel, hmm and there was like a picture of a publication, or maybe just like a painting. It might have been like of paradise or something. And there was the women wearing flats. So I took pictures, and then I
Well, it's
went to
paradise
show
though,
him.
so
But yeah, he was just like, oh, that must have just like, yeah, it was like something very much like that, like very
only when you
like
attain perfection
flippant.
can you wear flats.
Oh, so
Oh my God.
just these unrealistic expectations that are put on you. And even, let's just say, like, that was just him, like that was a him thing. Still, he was someone who was in such a position of authority that was able to give that personal opinion influence in.
Mm,
And that's the thing that I feel like people don't understand is, so many of these like little cultural rules that end up happening are because someone just feels like it, and they're so high up.
yeah. Yeah. And it's weird, right? Like, because the CO would just come in and it would definitely like that's like a personal opinion.
Thank
And they
you.
would drop that, but everybody would just fall into line. Like, all right, well, if he says it, and then you get a new CO, and until he's like switched it back, right, it would just continue for all eternity. You know, if the
Mm-hmm.
new CEO came and said, "Hey, why don't you wear flats? They're more comfortable." Everybody would be like, "Yeah." You know, it's just like there's it's like the whole fucking pants thing. It's like the beard thing. Like everybody's
Thank
just waiting
you.
for it to like someone to like change it, and they're like, "Oh, okay, it's cool now. All right."
Thank you.
Yeah.
Finally. Like, you guys, what?
You bring out a good point though, because I feel like there's a right. There's like constant scrutiny. Like you're under a magnifying glass a lot of time in the congregation. It feels like some
Mm-hmm.
people are just always looking to give counsel. So I think that too is like part of like the self-esteem piece, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
you're always doing something wrong. Like you're not like, and people are pointing it out to you. And obviously in life, we need constructive criticism, but
Sure.
like but this is like you're saying, it's like nitpicking stuff, you know, like they don't
Mm-hmm.
like the fit of your suit or the fit of your skirt. They don't like that you're wearing flats instead of high heels. Your hair is a little bit too long. Your hair's a little out of place. That's, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it's like it goes on and
Your
on and on.
sideburns are past the bottom of your ear.
Yes, yes, right. And it's
Yep.
just, and you just feel again, it's kind of that feeling like I'm never good enough. Like I'm just not all right
Mm-hmm.
the way I am. And I
Mm-hmm.
that's how, I mean, I never felt like, you know, like I was doing enough. I never felt like I was doing it right. I just always felt like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it
I
was
do
it
know,
was
because I felt the same.
soul
Like,
this
there was
constant
always something
improvement,
more that
but
you should be doing.
yeah, yeah. And here's the thing,
Mm-hmm.
like a big thing about self-esteem is that you're okay just the way you are.
Mm-hmm.
And only when you recognize that can you change for the better. It doesn't work the other way around. Like you don't like nitpick yourself and fix all those things and then
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, now I'm okay with myself. No, it's like it's the opposite. Like
Mm-hmm.
and but the organization is always like nitpicking everything and you're never okay, you know, and it's like
Oh my
you're never all right.
goodness.
Like you're a sinner, you just you're fucked for, you know, until all eternity or until, you know, somebody intervenes to save you from yourself. Right? Like that's what you're
And it's
waiting for the whole time.
and it's just so like draining to never feel like enough. And I remember, like, shortly after I had gotten married, now I'm recognizing I was like hella depressed. I remember telling my ex-husband, I don't think he was an elder yet, he was still a ministerial servant. Like, I just wanted to like, I felt like I needed a break on something. I wanted to stop pioneering and just focus on being a good publisher. And he looked at me, he's like, what is a good publisher? Like, and I'm just like, so even with that,
Wait.
I felt like this pressure to continue pioneering, even though I did not want to. I hated where I was in a certain point in my life. They're like, I loved being married. Wow. Oh my God. I think I'm realizing I hated being a married Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, that's quite possible. Yes, probable
I
maybe.
think, yeah, because it just, or maybe I just didn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness and didn't know it. Oh,
Probably that too.
oh, so many things, so many
I
things.
mean, I
But
think I I I walked around. Just a quick side note.
mhm,
I walked around with this sense that something was off, like my whole life, and I could not put a word around it until that day when I finally had the epiphany what was off. But
mhm,
I just walked around with this vague sense of like not being okay my whole life. And then it was when I was like, I don't have to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. And when those words came out, I was like, that's what it was. Like that's what the whole problem was. Like, it was
mhm,
weird that for 30, 3 years or whatever it was, I didn't have words to say that. Like to
mhm.
express like
Yeah,
I
I
did.
know.
Yeah.
I know because same because I have such a hard time reconciling the fact that I was very devout. I genuinely believed that this was the truth. And yet at the same time I had my doubts, but because I genuinely believed that this was the truth, I did what they said to do in order to strengthen my faith and snuff out the doubts. But and that worked for some time
Yeah. They don't go away. They just
until it didn't.
yeah.
Yeah. They
They
just
don't go
keep
away.
compounding on
Yeah,
each other.
yeah, yep. It's like it drops out of vision for a little while, but it's still there, like humming in the background. I think a big obvious thing too in regards to self-esteem is just the process of leaving, right? Like, so you have the epiphany, like, oh, like I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness. That's not how I want to live my life. And then you're like, oh boy, because now like the shitstorm starts, right?
Because
And
now you have to sit with the reality of my life is about to change
mhm,
completely.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Some people go out very quietly. Some people are more vocal about how they leave. Uh, I don't think there's a. I'm not. I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way for everyone. I think each person has to analyze their situation and decide how they want to leave, or even if they're going to stay physically in, whatever it is they feel like they have to do. Obviously, that's each person's choice to make. But
Mhm.
if you are vocal about it, and even if you fade quietly, there's fallout, right? That happens where um you might just try to tell like an intimate friend or family member. They come up and like, hey, what's going on? Like, you haven't been at the Kingdom Hall, or why aren't you preaching anymore? And if you're like, yeah, well, here's why, and you start telling, it's like you start getting all those reactions. I mean,
Mhm.
in my case, like I think my self-esteem was definitely damaged. That I remember the day. I remember the video phone call with my parents when they told me they weren't going to speak to me anymore, even though I wasn't disfellowshipped or disassociated. And I remember, and it was especially, um, I'll call it degrading in a way, because my ex-wife was on the same phone call with me, and after they basically read some scriptures and announced their decision to me, they no longer addressed me on the call. They only talked to my ex, even though I was sitting there. So it's like they started shunning me while I was sitting there, and,
Immediately.
like immediately. And I was like,
They
wow.
couldn't even have the dignity of like waiting until the call fucking ended. Are you
I know,
fucking
right?
joking?
I know it's bad, but that obviously, like for your self worth, your own parents are like you're all of a sudden invisible to them. It's like, oh well, this is gonna take some time. Like, this is a blow to the self esteem, and then on top of that, then the rest of the community obviously, in my case, followed suit at some point. So
Yeah.
I think that makes you feel like you're like, am I not worthy of love? Which I think is connected to
Oh
self
yeah.
esteem, right?
Oh,
Like,
100. Oh, 100%.
yeah.
100%.
Did you
That
have any of
absolute
those feelings?
Bo, these are feelings that like I'm actively dealing with like
Oh yeah,
right
me
I'm
too.
like
Me too.
right
Yeah.
now. And I think we mentioned last week that like we are still healing too. We didn't start this at a point where we were like we have all the answers for everyone. Like no,
Mm-hmm.
we're still on our healing journeys as well. We got shit coming up too. Um but yeah, I definitely have been dealing with these feelings of not having family, and that feeling of the family that I had, my that was in my mind, like my established, like that is my immediate family. I
Mm.
don't have relationships with any of them anymore. Um, So I feel like I don't have family. I feel very, very alone. Um, I have friends, and then they're wonderful, wonderful people. They are absolutely my chosen family. And Bo, I don't know if you relate to this, and this is such. I feel like it's such a shitty feeling, but it's a feeling. So whatever, because what I want so so badly is family, like my own. It like mine here with me. It's hard for me, not that I don't want to, not that I don't know that they absolutely are, but on some level, it's hard to me to fully take in my friends as my family. And I don't know if I do that on a like a self-preservation thing as well, because like, well, my own pushed me away, so why would anyone else not? Ooh, I'm getting emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I also I was talking with my life coach about this the other day, and I realized I have to start rewriting the definition of family for myself. I need to
Mm.
stop keeping my definition of family so compact and so tight to that immediate group that I had, and realize I have so much more family. I have my brothers, I have my dad, I have
Mm.
my aunts and uncles, I have my friends that are like my sisters. I have another sister. I have family, and I need to get to the point where like I don't just know that, but I know that.
Mm.
And that's something that I'm actively working through right now. And I am also just realizing, and this is not for me to say cut this out, but I just shared a really, really deep, raw thing out there with
Mm.
everyone. So if anyone's ever had those feelings too, you are not alone. And hopefully someone else kind of has, because I don't want to feel alone.
Well, I have. I think you know, on my other podcast a long time ago, I mentioned this, that definitely the feeling of self-preservation, keeping up a shield, like a wall, and keeping people a little bit at arm's length. That was definitely me. And I again, it's still these things still come up for me as well. But I have that feeling of like not wanting to be hurt the way I was hurt by everyone again, and
Mhm.
just afraid of like investing energy and love in people because are they just going to disappear, like my family or the community I had. uh, so yeah, I definitely I can relate to those feelings a lot, and I think that's a really awesome point actually about just redefining and rewriting what family is for us. And Jesus Christ, I'm gonna have to sit with that for a while. Oof.
Yeah,
That's deep. That's deep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I am emotional. I mean, to be fair, in our little pilot episode thing, we did say, we're gonna
Yeah.
talk about some heavy topics sometimes, guys.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to self-esteem and learning to love yourself and see your value, this is a pretty heavy topic. But I think
Yeah.
this is a good transition point to talk about that second part of not just what the organization does to your self-esteem, but
Mm-hmm.
learning how to love yourself and
Mm.
see your own value and worth. Because I can say definitively for myself, for a very long time, I did not love myself, and I
Mm.
thought I did. I thought I did.
Yeah.
But my actions showed very much otherwise. The things that I allowed, the friendships that I allowed, the relationships that I allowed, um, the way I treated myself, the way I fueled my body, just all of that. I was not in a great place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you can resonate with having been in a similar place at some
Oh,
point.
definitely. I mean, that's one thing I shared in therapy. I was talking about positive changes I wanted to make in my life. And essentially he asked like what are the obstacles uh to accomplishing some of these things. And I said really the biggest obstacle is I don't think I'm worth it. I don't think I'm worth putting in the effort to make these changes. And I think that's my biggest obstacle. And I actually I feel like I knew that subconsciously before I was in that session, but it wasn't until I was in that session and I said it that it like hit me.
Mhm,
Like that's why I'm like those are the real I'm making other excuses for not doing this stuff. But like that
mhm,
is like the foundational reason. And
mhm,
uh of course it's like then you have work to do, right? Like it's once you realize that you're like, like
mhm.
I how can I change my relationship to myself?
Exactly.
Like first and foremost. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's such a trippy thing to try to separate you from yourself in that way.
Mm,
Um but and I think it's a learned skill to do that as well,
yeah.
to learn to speak to yourself like you would speak to a friend, because
Hmm.
we don't do that. We are so mean to ourselves. We
Mm,
say the most hurtful things to ourselves so frequently. And I wonder if the average person realizes just how much they do it.
mm,
I think it's become so second nature to ourselves that we don't. So to take that time to learn to speak to yourself in a kind, loving way is difficult. It is difficult to learn to do, especially as an adult. But it is such a beautiful skill to
mm.
develop because it can really, really pull you out of some dark places when you have some, affirmations to get you through that. And stay tuned to the end of this episode for a fun little clip that was from last week's episode about affirmations.
Oh yeah. We
Ah,
could pop that in, huh?
yeah, we could.
Speaking of positive self-talk, it'd be perfect. Uh yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to like bookmark kind of a little bit of a theme behind what we're both saying here, and that is I mentioned a therapist and you mentioned a life coach and
Hmm.
also therapist.
Hmm.
I can't recommend it highly enough to make some effort if it's within your circumstances to try to
Hmm.
find a therapist, and not just any therapist. Find a therapist you genuinely gel with,
Hmm.
and if you have to shop around a little bit, put in the effort, please, and just
Hmm.
find a therapist that you have that level of comfort with
Hmm.
to
Don't
open up
just
and to
try
share those
one or
feelings.
two. Don't just like one or two and think like, oh no, just therapy is not for me. Like it's a relationship too. It's a relationship
Hmm.
too.
Yeah, so I would recommend that as a pathway to
Hmm.
to have someone who's objective, well trained, and positive like that, who you can sit down with, a safe place to
Hmm.
share what you have going on,
Hmm.
is huge for starting to open the door for how you view yourself and viewing
Hmm.
yourself more positively.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll grab some links for some online resources for defined therapists. I'll throw some stuff over so when Bo puts this on the YouTube channel or
I'll
wherever we
try my
have it
best,
out there,
everyone. I'll
we'll
try my
we'll
best.
we'll do some things. We'll do some things.
Yeah, we'll try to do a little extra research.
Yeah, and I can't say enough good things about my therapist or I did mention that I'm working with a life coach. I know that some people hear that and they're like, oh, how Gwyneth Paltrow of you. Is that still like a, a relevant pop culture reference?
Sure,
Um,
we'll call it good. I got it. I
you
mean,
got
it's
it.
a hit for me.
You
Yeah,
chuckled.
I think it's because I
Um,
used to have a cookbook. That's why.
You-
Whoops.
but I can, for me personally, the combination of the two has been just amazing for me because the therapy is helping me deal with like the root of my trauma and being okay with like going back to that, or even the things that I'm going on that are going on right now, like the whys behind it. And then for me, the life coaching is all right. What's going on right now? What's present? What do we want to be present? What do we need to
Mm,
do to get it there? So I really feel like it's this really nice balance of kind of healing my inner child, but also getting getting me to
mm.
the life that I want to be at. Um, and she's amazing. I'll check in with her and see if it's okay for us to plug her account in here as well. So she's the best.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I would say kind of not as a replacement for therapy or coaching, but as supplement. I have done a lot of reading, and I know there is now like there's the idea of toxic positivity or even toxic like self-help. So that is a thing. So you don't want to like get into that area per se with it from what I hear.
Hmm.
But I've found there's a lot of books that you should read. And I'm not going to start like listing all of them right now, but there's so many good books. I think for me, like I'm going to throw out a classic. Uh, the first time I read like The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown, that book for
Hmm.
me was very impactful. Like when I read
Hmm.
that and just realized, the way she goes into, which again is tied to self-esteem, like shame
Hmm.
and the way we view ourselves, and it's just I think some of her work is very powerful. To me, it gets a little repetitive. Not sorry, Brene, if you're watching, but I feel like there's like that one when I read that first, it really resonated with me. There's a lot of other ones.
Hmm. Yeah,
Geez,
for
boy,
me,
I
It Didn't Start With You was
mm,
instrumental. Not so much with the high control group part of it, but for me, just learning what the generational cycles were in my family and kind of starting to observe them. So that because once you're aware of what it is, that's when you can actually make the changes, right?
hmm yeah,
So that book for me was huge in my healing, because the whole high control group or occult part of it for us is just one thing, right? There, everyone
hmm
has multiple things that they're working through and healing from. We just have this additional, like, um, what's it called? Like a collector's edition that's just like
yeah.
thrown in.
Special edition.
Yeah. Special edition trauma. It's a holographic card.
That's great. Yeah. The sticker like on her ass.
Oh my God,
Yeah. Yeah.
collecting ass stickers like passport.
Yeah, and a lot of other books. Again, we can't list them all here, but I read books like these, like title like "Feeling Good" from like one of the um, early proponents of CBT therapy. I believe his name is like David Burns. Emotional First Aid by Guy Winch. I'm gonna blank on some of this, but it's been a little while. But so on and so forth. I think if you just go either in Spotify, if you do audiobooks or whatever app you use for audiobooks, or if you go on Amazon even and just look for highly rated books or talk to
Remember
people
when
about it.
Amazon was just a bookstore? Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Hmm.
Aging myself with that.
I
Ooh.
know. Same, same.
Yeah,
So,
I used to buy a lot of used CDs off of Amazon because you could get them,
wow.
like they do
Yeah,
like used music and stuff too.
that's right.
Wicka,
Yeah.
wicka,
Stop.
wicka. Oh, I
So
can't help myself.
yeah, I would say those are a few things that have helped. The coaching and the therapy are amazing tools. Bo and I
Mm-hmm.
are also really big proponents of moving your body.
Yep.
For me, that ended up being huge in my self-esteem and my self-worth. Um, and I don't know if this resonates with you, Bo. So let's see. But my weight always fluctuated, right? And I spent more time being than right. Um and but I didn't realize how much of like my emotional baggage was like being literally carried on me for so long. And because once I started, like, yes, it took me like, once I started losing like weight too, I was already, mentally out. But that's also when I started really processing my feelings on things too. So it was like, I was genuinely like shedding physically and shedding emotionally at the same time. Um, so there was that, but then finding something physical that made me feel fulfilled as well, because that's really what drove me to start yoga. Was I was going to the gym, I was doing these classes with like free weights and all that stuff, and got like some pretty heavy, like I'm a bitch is kind of strong, right? But I felt very masculine with that, like, doing, and like throwing weights afterwards, and like, yeah, I would do that in class,
You're
I,
setting off the lunk alarm at Planet
oh my,
Fitness.
I
Like,
would, like, it wasn't like all the time, but like, I'd be that person, especially on the strength days, absolutely. So anyway, I wanted to stop feeling so masculine and
mm,
find something to work out with, but also feel feminine. And I was just like, all right, you know what? I took a yoga class. Let me see where I can start doing yoga. And I talked to a friend. She recommended the place that I practice now. And 4 months after starting yoga, I was already certified as a yoga teacher. Like, that's how much I needed yoga in my life.
yeah. Yeah. I think,
Yeah.
exercise and physical activity can definitely be a part of it. If that's not your thing, like, we're not here saying like lose weight or
No,
be
no,
this
no, 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 no,
size
no.
or any of that. I think that's clear. But I think we could just lump that into, like, I know it gets used so much, but let's just say self-care. I'm sorry, everyone. I had to say it. Like, because again, it's the way you value yourself as a person. So for some people that might be exercise, some people that might be the way they eat. Other people, it could be whatever activities they want to like enjoy and reward themselves
Mhm.
with, whether it's a bubble bath or a pedicure, which I love pedicures, everyone. There you
Same.
go.
Mhm.
Making a news flash right here. I get pedicures. Yes. Yes. I skip out of the motherfucking salon too. You should see me.
As you should. As you should.
Yes. Because my feet feel fresh. Yes. So, so anything
Oh,
like, maybe it's just you want to try a new hairdo, maybe you want to get a tattoo, maybe it's a new piercing, maybe, it goes on, but just
right. The
something that
point is something for
you're doing
you.
for yourself. Yeah. And
Mhm.
I think like that too is just a way of like, as a witness, right? You're like, well, even the Christ didn't please himself, and
Mhm.
there's not really any emphasis on like doing nice things for yourself. And I
Mhm.
think that that's something that you can adopt, a practice you can adopt.
Mhm.
Um,
And it's
show
okay
you, and it's
to.
just a way of like practically showing yourself that you care about yourself.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if
And
you can't mentally get yourself to that point, that kind of goes back maybe to like the therapy or seeking help. There's absolutely nothing, I'm going to say it a million times, nothing wrong. There should be zero stigma about getting therapy or seeking help.
mhm.
So,
Absolutely.
if you feel like I'm not even worth doing this for myself or doing that for myself, like, you know, try to get
Talk to
help for
someone.
those feelings. Talk to someone, reach out, so you can get to that point.
Mhm.
Be my unprofessional recommendation.
Um,
Pedicures. Get the pedicure.
pedicures.
When they take that cheese grater to my foot,
Oh my
oh boy,
gosh.
howdy, it is so good. I
You're
recommend it.
like
Dudes,
you're like, giddy
dudes,
up.
dudes, you are missing out if you're like, oh, dude, I stand up to pee and I'm not getting a pedicure. Yeah,
Stand
go
up to
fuck
pee.
yourself is what I say. You don't know what you haven't lived, bud. You haven't lived. Look,
And you say that from the chair at the nail salon.
I work in steel toe work boots all day. Like you know what I mean? But I still get my
Mm-hmm.
pedicures. 'Cause,
Yep.
all right. So I'm not going to say anything more about pedicures. So I
I don't know if you
get
guys
passionate
can
about it.
tell. Bo really likes his pedicures.
I
Like,
do. Yes, I have one on
wait,
Monday scheduled. That's why I'm so excited.
oh my God, I love that. I just got one last Saturday because I went to go see Bad Bunny.
Ooh. You can
Mhm.
see me on my OnlyFans, everyone.
Oh my God, the feet pics.
That's why I really do it. I'm in the money. All right.
Stop.
Okay. So let's get serious
Stop.
now. Let's get serious. Let's get serious.
Okay. We're back, people. We're back.
Maybe. I think it's good to if you. I know there's like so many qualifiers I need to put on everything, but also just not like completely look into yourself alone, like in a vacuum, to generate self-esteem. I think that having people in your lives who make you feel like they care about you and that you're worthy of their time and their energy. Because I've had people in my life that made me feel worse about myself,
Mhm,
even as an ex Jehovah's Witness.
mhm,
So, and I've had people in my life that literally, like, I felt like they saved it because they showed me so much that they cared about me and they wanted the best for me and they wanted me to
mhm,
succeed and they were there for me. Like, in those moments, that can do tremendous things for your feeling of self-esteem. And sometimes it does take some sorting, and we won't even recognize in the beginning that someone's not good for us or our self-esteem. It may
mhm,
take time, but if we realize that we have people in our lives that were like, geez, I kind of feel shitty after hanging out with them, like I'm a piece of trash, you know.
mhm,
Like, and I felt that way after hanging. Like, I realized I'm like, I don't feel good around this person. And
mhm,
so, but finding those like positive influences and people who are, you can really tell are like there for you, ride or die.
mhm, mhm. It's so important to find those people who like he said, like your ride or dies, your check, the ones who are you don't have to question. Boom, that's them.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's nice just to have like outside feedback too, because I don't feel like I can always just wake up and like meditate and mantra myself into loving myself.
Mhm,
You know what I mean?
mhm. Yep.
So as much as I write it in, red lipstick on my mirror, like again, there'll be a clip about my mantra, but
Oh my
right, like
goodness.
you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
um, for me, I see limits with like affirmations. I'm not
No,
knocking
I
them,
completely understand that. Like
but
sometimes not for like I don't know if it's the ego that I'm still obviously trying to
hmm
deconstruct or whatever, but the ego needs some validation sometimes. I'll just say it. I saw
yeah.
this thing on Instagram that basically it equated to like two friends deciding that instead of looking for external validation from like men, they would just text each other randomly in all caps
Mm.
compliment and like that's the other person knew just to kind of like absolutely gas them up and I kind of love
Hmm.
that and that friend and I decided like that's what we're gonna do whenever we need like just a boost compliment and then here we go so yeah that just works for us.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like it. I'm gonna start sending.
Mhm.
You're like 3 a.m. now. You're gonna get a text message from me. Compliment,
Compliment.
please, for the love of God. No, it's an emergency. But yeah, it's
You
really
send
like
me
a.
another message like an hour later too late.
It's like I think she blocked my number. This isn't good. What was all that
Oh
talk on
my
the
goodness.
podcast?
Next week's episode,
Yeah.
we got some stuff to talk about.
So I would like to say this to
Oh,
everyone. You have done something amazing. You may feel uh, broken and and traumatized, and maybe when you left, everybody blamed you, like bad relationship, right? Where it's like you are the problem. It's your fault. You're too proud. You're too arrogant. You're too intellectual. You won't submit to Jehovah's authority. Whatever they said to you, you let the devil in. Like everything is about you being a broken person. But the courage that you've demonstrated, even if you just have started mentally questioning the organization and you're still physically in it, like you deserve at least me to say, way to go. Like you are an amazing person to accomplish that. So there's
Mhm.
something right there. You may feel like you're behind in life. I have all these feelings too that I'm mentioning. That's why I'm mentioning them. Like, like
Feel so
everything. I got
behind,
some
so stunted.
behind, stunted, broken. I didn't go to college. Maybe I don't have the career I maybe could have had. All those things, and you think like, why am I going to have self-esteem? Well, you escaped a fucking cult, like you and so many people, or
Like you did a brave thing.
you've
Like
given
you,
yourself the
I,
permission to think about it. Even is like a
yeah,
brave act.
yeah.
So I just think that you should deserve to give yourself some credit for that. And all of us do. We really,
Mhm.
all that negative stuff I mentioned, maybe it exists or we think that way, or other people think that way, but it's have you ever had, like, you've had this experience, right? Like when you're telling somebody that was never a Jehovah's Witness and you
Mhm.
actually lay out for them what it cost you to leave.
Mhm.
I, every
Yeah,
person's
yeah.
always told me that's so brave.
That yeah, everyone is like,
You're
"That's
courageous.
insane. Oh, that's
It's
crazy that
insane.
you blah, 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 blah," and I'm just like
Yeah.
and yeah, I get that
So
all the time. I get that
I just want to
all
send
the
that
time.
message out. I'm talking about self-esteem that,
Mhm,
God damn it, if you're an ex-cult member or you've left an abusive relationship
mhm,
or whatever, there's so many facets for this applies, but just, give your, let's all give ourselves some credit, like a
mhm,
pat on the back for the courage and the bravery we've shown. Even if we
mhm.
think in our head, I did it in a cowardly way, I snuck out the back door, nobody even knew. I don't care. It's like
I don't
to
c
face like
s
your own identity and and faith
but
and
even if
your
you feel like you
community.
did do it in a ca like, 'cause I basically ended
Yeah.
up getting hella depressed during because of my circumstances, but also
Mm,
sneaking out during COVID. I was like, "You know what? This is the perfect just done. I'm done, and
yeah.
everyone thinks and knows I'm depressed anyway, so I don't have to just I'm just done." But then for me personally, I got to the point where I knew of so many things that had happened, or so many people in my life who were also so affected by their experiences within the organization. I got to the point where I felt like I had to use my voice because
Hmm.
I have one, and so I'm going to. And thankfully, Bo and I were able to reconnect and got in with Armageddon in retrospect, and now we're here. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're just here to we're healing, and we just want to see how it is that we can help you guys heal too.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, want to thank Alicia, whether or not that's your real name. Thanks
Yes,
for the comment. Thanks for the idea. I feel like I'm gonna sit with this like this conversation. I hope it resonates with other people because I feel like having like said all these things, I'm like, wow, I have to sit with all of this now.
I
Like,
know.
like it's brought some stuff up for me too, talking about it.
I know. I know.
Yeah,
Samesies.
reprocess. Yep.
Um, if anyone else has topics for discussion, obviously we definitely do read,
Mm-hmm.
the comments and actively want to engage with our listeners. So please leave suggestions, because it could end up being our literal next episode.
Yeah. And thank you to our 50th subscriber. I'm not sure who you are, but I want to say get a pedicure. You deserve it. Thank you for subscribing. Number 50. We're up over 50 now. So,
Woo! Woo!
yes. Small
Uh,
beginnings, friends. Small
yeah,
beginnings.
don't despise small beginnings.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Um,
So,
and speaking of not despising small beginnings, I also want to give just a quick little shout out and plug to my friend's company, Unico Athletics and Unico Clothing. They recently released these really, really comfy sweater like hoodie sets, and I basically am living in mine. So you can find them on Instagram. Also on when we post on this on Instagram, I will tag them in it as well.
Right. Awesome. And they have like men's big and tall. I'll look into it. I'll look on the website. I haven't shopped it yet, folks. I'm gonna check it out. Yeah.
I can definitively say it's pretty comforting.
Yeah. I take your word for it. The follow us too if you want to on Instagram at the Reconstructionist. We're gonna I just came up with an idea. Eventually, we're gonna sell our own branded pedicure kit.
Oh my God! I got really excited for. I was like, branded what? I was about to say, guys, this is brand new information for me too.
Yeah. No, sorry, I'm joking. But
you know, awesome. No, now that's your homework. That's your homework. Start assembling the pedicure kit.
So is that would you consider that very comfortable sweatshirt you're wearing, like that part of your self-care then, wearing that?
Honestly, yeah. Sometimes
like,
I
it was something nice you did for yourself. You're like,
it is something nice I did for myself. I was like, huh. And I'm supporting a local business. Like, come on, it's a gimme.
There you go. Yeah. So thank you everyone for watching. And I'm trying to think if there's any other housekeeping I have. I will eventually get some type of audio podcast backup, folks. Bear with me. You may be able to hear it in my throat. I've been my stuffiness. I've been sick. I've been under the weather, so I am dragging my feet more than normal. But yeah.
So we appreciate you being here with us tonight.
Yes, appreciate all of you, and again, give yourself a pat in the back. You deserve it, right? For me,
you deserve it.
And message me if you want a compliment too. I'll send you one.
just message our account, our Instagram compliment, and we'll send you a compliment. Honestly, yes. Message us compliment.
Yep. Message us compliment, and we will come up with something just for you.
We got
something special. Yeah,
we got you.
All right, everyone. Take care.
Love and light, babies.
It's not like we have to shy away from that. I think it's good to incorporate that. Like that is part of who we are. I don't think we need to be afraid of people finding out like that's part of our past either. I think like you're saying, we can actually be proud of it. But at the same time, that all said, like we don't just want to be. That's it. Like I'm an ex-witness, and okay, like cool. What are you doing since? I'm not saying people are actually stuck there, but I think I've been afraid of that. Like you said, you were too. Where it's just like, is this going to be who I am? Just a former witness. Hopefully, I can grow beyond that. And I think we're both making strides. And like you said, you're dope as fuck. And so that's good. That's something to aim for, everyone. You want to talk about mindset? There it is, right there.
There it is. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast, but real quick, they kind of make fun of me at work sometimes because whenever anyone asks me how I am, and I do this just like in my day-to-day life too, whenever anyone asks me how I am, I always go, I am the best always. There has never been anyone better than me right now. And that has been huge for changing my mindset. Huge. Wow. Yeah. So if guys, and you're going to feel so silly when you start doing it. Like, hey, how are you? Oh, good. No, I am the best always. And it really makes you like believe it.
My affirmations suck ass.
Yeah.
I'm not hard enough on my positive affirmations.
Obviously not. Go harder. Go harder.
Like, oh, you are like the most mediocre guy. You're so mediocre. No one does mediocre better than you. I'm going to step up my game now. I'm going to step it up. I like myself. I like me. I don't love me, but I like me.
I like me. I'm okay.
Okay. Shooting for like, okay.
Oh my goodness.
Like mid-pack, not the front, not the back, mid-pack.
And you're like, I just want to kind of be able to see a little bit. That's it.